amount of standalone boutiques, they've branched out. There's Breitling boutiques, there's Omega boutiques, there's Tudor boutiques, there's standalone boutiques, and there's no customers in them. I don't know how they keep the bloody lights on. I bought this watch in May and immediately sold it at a loss, or tried to sell it at a loss. That's a big loss on a watch. And then it dawned on me, this person was buying this Rolex to get to a Rolex. And he must have got to his watch, or must have been told, if you buy this, you're definitely getting this one next. And he was prepared to buy something he didn't want and to immediately dump it at a $2,000 loss. Now, if he's selling it for that price, he's selling it for even less, guys. But lucky for him, he didn't have to buy an Omega. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about the decline of watch brands in the United Kingdom. It's a real thing. I can see it coming. When you think you can now walk into a Rolex authorized dealer and buy a Rolex to get to a Rolex, why bother buying a Tudor or an Omega or a Breitling or, God forbid, a TAG? If you're not a subscriber, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and let's get into this video. People used to walk into Rolex ADs 2 years ago and asked to see a Rolex. And the AD, the standard procedure was to shuffle them over to Tudors and get them to buy a Tudor, to show them the Tudor range, and don't even show them the Rolex range. Get them into a Tudor, send them on their way, and the message is very clear. If you want to buy a Rolex from us, you got to buy a Tudor first. And they got away with it, guys. Loads of people bought Tudors on the back of trying to get a Rolex. Now, Silver Cloud, these Tudors came with finance, so you were able to finance the watch. And a lot of people ended up keeping the Tudors because they genuinely liked them for whatever reason. And those people eventually got offered a Rolex. An Air King, would you believe? All that trouble for an Air King. Now, if you didn't like the Tudors, you'd move on to Omegas, and you'd then move on to your Breitlings or your Tags, with the view to working your way up to getting the Rolex. And let's say you wanted a Submariner. You were not going to get that Submariner as your first Rolex. You had to get the Air King first, or an Explorer first, and then work your way up. So even though you bought that Tudor or you bought that Omega, you were still nowhere near getting your watch. And everybody did it, guys. Everybody got in the queue and followed the path, shall we say, like the Borg. But things have changed, guys. Now, if you want to buy a Rolex, just go and buy one from an authorized dealer. I know that they have watches in the back. They just do. And I know when I went to Manchester, they didn't know who I was and they were not going to tell me the truth. And I did ask for stainless steels. If I'd have said I'd like a two-tone watch, maybe they would have gone in the back and got me one. I don't know, because they've still got to be careful what they do, don't they? They have to be careful what they do and who they sell to. Because you never know, I could be buying my rose gold Yachtmaster to flip, God forbid. That's a joke, by the way. And then I got to thinking, well, if those days are gone, what are all these brands going to do now that have had all these sales the last 2 years and think they've had all these sales, or even 3 years, because people want them, when the truth is people were forced into buying them in order to get a Rolex? Oh, I think the future's quite bleak. It really is, guys. And it gets even better. The amount of standalone boutiques, they've branched out. There's Breitling boutiques, there's Omega boutiques, there's Tudor boutiques, there's standalone boutiques, and there's no customers in them. I don't know how they keep the bloody lights on. When I was in Manchester, I really should have just sat outside on an armchair, because you can actually see the Tudor store and the Omega store and the Breitling store sitting on an armchair, and I should have bought one of them click machines. And I tell you what, I wouldn't have needed to use it because they didn't have any customers. And yet when I walked into the Rolex AD, David M. Robinson, at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning, it was a booming nightclub, if you ask me. It was full of customers, all laughing and joking, just clamoring to get a Rolex. And they were buying Rolexes too. They might have been buying two-tones, but at least they were buying Rolexes to get two Rolexes. This is an interesting story as well. Have a look at this watch here, because this is still happening. Somebody bought this watch in May and immediately sold it at a loss, or tried to sell it at a loss. That's a big loss on a watch. And then it dawned on me, this person was buying this Rolex to get to a Rolex. And he must have got to his watch, or must have been told, if you buy this, you're definitely getting this one next. And he was prepared to buy something he didn't want and to immediately dump it at a $2,000 loss. Now, if he's selling it for that price, he's selling it for even less, guys. But lucky for him, he didn't have to buy an Omega, because he would have lost double that if he tried to flip that watch. So now people are buying Rolexes to get to Rolexes, and that is a good thing, maybe. And hopefully, now that the dust is settling and the truth is coming out, all of my subscribers can get to some compromise and get a Rolex that they like and move on with their lives. I really don't know how these standalone boutiques are going to survive. I don't. If you've got no customers, you've got no sales. If your watches are overpriced and nobody wants them. Oh, and there's one last thing. Finance. A lot of the Rolex ADs, if they've got shop within shop and they've got Tudors, Omega, Breitling, they give finance. And if it's a £6,000 watch, it costs them 10%. They have to pay the finance company £600. But that's like giving you 10% discount off the watch. So you have to pay full MSRP, but you get the watch on interest-only credit. I don't agree with it, but it helped them shift a lot of shit to get to the Rolex you wanted. Okay? These boutiques, they don't offer finance. I'm pretty sure they don't. I know for a fact that Omega boutiques don't offer finance. And they expect you to walk in there and buy a overpriced Omega at full MSRP with no finance. Again, they're having a giraffe, aren't they? Right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. And I will catch you on the next Brenny video.